page. For all those who read these present bearings, note that Captain Hannah Kestrel of 399th Squadron, Amalgamated, and Lieutenant Lahun Davis of 89th Combat Picked Recon, deceased, have this day been awarded the Black Shield of Cadia, the highest award for gallantry in support of combat. Frickin' sons of cowards, she snarled. For a moment, she wanted to crumple the paper and throw it from the ground car, but it would feel too much like spitting on Davis's memory. What's wrong? It seemed like some big deal. It's a non-combat award for conspicuous valor while in support of combat operations. What? That doesn't make sense. You're a combat pilot in a combat unit. Hells, you were shot down. And doesn't an observation Avenger mount a weapon? A defensive weapon. And no, though I fly in a war zone, it's still considered support. I'm not rated for offensive aircraft. Well, that's a shame, said Sobin. Because you've got one. What? She said. Distantly, she noticed the ground car had lurched to a stop. He pointed past her shoulder and she turned, then scrambled to her feet, holding the ground car's roll bar for support. 399 is a strike outfit, said Sobin. Air-to-ground speciality. And there's your mount. Thrawn, she breathed. God, Emperor, look at it. It's a little battered. She's a patched-up Navy model, and the back seat's a servitor, not a gunner. There might be kind of a smell, but it's the best we can do for now. Kestrel looked over the aircraft, from the swept-down wings with their vector engines to the blocky tail. It was in grey navy drab, its canopy open and waiting. And under the nose, in the place Deadeye's picture array sat, were the gleaming barrels of a rotary bolt cannon. What's its name? Doesn't have one. You got one in mind, sir? Warkite, she whispered, then turned. When do we fly? The Cregan Gates. Cervantes Glaive couldn't help but crane his head to look at the golden underside as they passed beneath it. Above him, on the interior of the massive structure, were gleaming bas-reliefs of battles past. Glorious campaigns on foreign worlds, heroes of the past. Files of tridome helmets and cantrail pattern lasguns. Generals in full-dress uniform, holding models of planets they had liberated. A chronicle of resistance against the despoiler. Put a bayonet in the despoiler himself. That voice had got stronger. Throughout his battles on the northern Alpha Curtain Wall, the fight back against the Raptors, and the tide of warp evils that had come after. They had been putrid things, lithe and sinuous with razor claws, moving in a way that entranced and repelled. Thankfully, most of his contact with them had been through firing slits in the thick wall, but that was only partial protection. Their perfumed smell was hard to describe, like drinking wine only to find it was not fully fermented but still rotting mash. When he looked at them, thought about them, Glaive got the horrid sensation of flower petals lightly brushing his skin, at first with the softness of a spring bloom, but the more he paid attention to it, the more those invisible blossoms crinkled and withered into the scratching of a desiccated flower. He felt the sensation returning and shook the memory off with the mantra. Put a bayonet in the despoiler. The words must be saint-spoken and emperor sent, because they had seen him through the fights in the wall, the fallback to the beta wall, and now the breakthrough battles in the retreat to Kraf. As Kazakin, they'd served as outriders, bouncing along the flank in a stripped-down Taurox, scouting for threats, then speeding away as Glaive poured into them with the pintle-mounted Stormbolter. With that mantra he had gunned down monsters, and whispering those words he'd fired on heretic Astartes, until his kill count rested, by his own reckoning, at 3. Granted, it was hard to tell in combat who shot who, but Glaive knew it in his soul. Was that improbable? That one guardsman would kill 3 mutated transhuman monsters? No, it was not improbable. It was miraculous. And miracles, by definition, defied belief. Similarly, he and the rest of Fire Team Gamma should have died 1,000 times by now, but they hadn't. Another sign of divine favor. Sergeant Veskaj was still alive, as, incredibly, was Stitcher Kristen. The rest of Fire Team Gamma were new faces, peeled off from remnant squads. They were not important. None of them. They were all there to deliver him to the point where he could, in turn, deliver Cadia. Because Glaive was on a mission from the Golden Throne, and the front lines of a siege were the perfect place to fulfill that sacred assignment. He, Cervantes Glaive of the 27th Kazakin, would kill Abaddon the Despoiler. 2. Ercanthos entered the chamber shrouded in night, his long shadow wings wrapped around him like a cloak. The fortress air ran cold, often only a few degrees above freezing. Yet as he came, he brought the hot stickiness of the charnel house with him. A tangy abattoir reek, like the final panicked breaths of livestock who have just smelled the gore and seen the cleaving axe. The War Master's chosen recoiled with the force of his presence, or at least what chosen remained. Cromgat's chair sat empty, the Lord of the Undivided slain by the savage sons of Russ. As the demon passed, the warp-infused blackstone of the doorway crawled closer, as if drawn to him as water is drawn downhill by gravity. Out of the corner of Morkath's eye, even the War Master's thoughts slowed in their motion, the zodiac reshuffling as planets rose and fell, so many of them tainted furious red. Only Zaraphiston the Seer smiled, and he alone kept his back to the demon prince once named Ercanthos. "War Master," the Ascended Lord said, the thought-speech desynchronized from the movement of his caged jaw. He gave a courtly bow, holding his shadow cloak behind him in one hand, so the Chosen could glimpse the red muscle underneath. "Fellow brothers." Then his head came up, and Morkath could see yellow eyes burning in the rune-stamped cage of his helmet. "Thought Reader," he said. "That explains why he tolerates you. How many know of that, I wonder?" He did not say it with his lips, nor did she read it with her mind. He sent it as a telepathic spike that pierced her language center with the sensation of being stabbed through the skull. Morkath gasped, for he no longer had thoughts. No mortal brain operated beneath the skull. Ercanthos was pure warp manifestation now. No mere meat vessel channeling the ether gods, but part of the empiric pantheon itself. "Ercanthos," rumbled the War Master. "Or do you name yourself differently now? Though I have risen to a prince of demons, I am still Ercanthos to my friends." "Are we friends, then?" said the War Master. "Your brothers fight across Cadia, your own warband unsupported by their commander as they struggled with the Sons of the Lion. And yet you, without telling this chamber, have slaughtered the Emperor's fanatics to bribe your way to ascension. I ask, thing that was Ercanthos, is this the behavior of a friend?" "It is the behavior of one who knows what is required for victory," hissed Ercanthos. "That is what you have taught me, War Master, to do what is necessary. And an ascension was necessary to take Graf. We have gambled much on this battle, Ercanthos, this final siege of Cadia, and I will not have you trading it to your red god. I fight for no god. I fight for you. Fight to own me, perhaps. I wonder if you are the same Ercanthos who was my axe in the whirl of the eye, who forsook petty gods to follow a greater path."
Why would you say this, Ezekiel? All I have done is become a greater warrior that can be used in your crusade.
We do not fight crusades, Ercanthos, he said, shaking his head. That is what they do. Launch blind crusades for their god. It is why the warp hungers for them, because they are looking for a master. I wanted you to be your own ruler. Ercanthos stepped forward, clawed feet digging into the blackstone. His stride was so long he stepped over the table to stand before the War Master, and Morcath could not help but shrink back.
You abuse me. Level charges of disloyalty claim I am not yours.
You were never mine.
I am claiming that you are not your own. It is folly.
Ercanthos spread his stance wide, and Morcath realized it was only the raised Noctilith throne that forced him to look up at the War Master. If her father climbed down, he would be level with the smouldering rune of Khorne branded on the demon's chest. Abaddon did not speak for a moment, letting Ercanthos stand in this position of humility. You have broken the covenant of this chamber, Ercanthos. To bring no being here with you. No warriors, no slaves, and no demons. Yet a war parasite rests on your back. It is not the first time.
I do not know what you mean.
Your bloody-mouthed god has given you many gifts, Ercanthos. But lying was not one of them. Though you may be an ennobled lord of the warp, you forget that I am the War Master of Chaos. And though I care not for titles, the warp gods give them to me, and among those is Commander of Demons. It was only then that Morcath saw the ripples of warp energy drawing back through the Noctilith floor, withdrawing like a sea before a tidal wave and collecting under the Blackstone throne.
Ezekiel, what is this mock? Tell me your name.
The words howled forth from the depths of the warp, coming from the War Master's bottomless mouth in a chorus of voices that sounded like nothing more than atmosphere tearing out of a holed ship. It washed over Ercanthos in a tide, and as it struck him, the black shadow cloak leapt up in full extension to reveal his wings, their leathery darkness seizing and quaking like the creature were being electrocuted. Pale, misty eyes blinked in shock and pain, and it keened with the sound of a drill bit on steel.
Ah, Jesus! The mouth of God! Begone, warp shade, out of my ship, and never again enter.
It was the most horrible thing Morcath had ever seen. Deep-sunk talons ripped free, shadowy leech mouths full of rings of hooked bone teeth detached, vomiting blood. The shade pulled itself upward, stretching and tearing, and the white eyes receded into the empty dark eyelids to become bleeding mouths. The shade was not part of Ercanthos, but grafted onto him, a psychic parasite. The cornate lord bowed in pain, muscles bunching, bellowed at the floor so loud his helm cracked, so loud Morcath had to cover her ears or become deaf. Then the shade flapped upwards into the haunted vaults of the fortress, and there was quiet. Ercanthos panted, snuffled, blood poured from his noseless nostrils. I am the War Master of Chaos, more powerful than any thrall demon. You say you are a prince, but a prince is not a king. Do you understand me?
I do. Thank you for the lesson, War Master, and for ridding me of that creature.
It was difficult to hear Acanthos through the blood flowing from his mouth. Morcath did not need to see the demon prince's thoughts to know his fury. The yellow eyes spoke of murder. I believe that I have made you a promise, and like all promises I make, it still stands. Do you wish to lead the attack on Krath?
I do, War Master. The others have put Cadia on the altar, and I will slaughter it.
Go, and do so. Acanthos turned and strode from the chamber, bleeding freely from the delta of craters left along his spine and shoulders. And though he did not turn, Morcath heard his voice, again meant only for her.
You see how he treats his friends, Fortress Child. Imagine how he treats his creations.
When the chamber was empty, the War Master dismissed her with a single order. I could not read his thoughts, War Master. You cannot read Acanthos, who will soon either destabilize the Chosen or die. You cannot read Zaraphiston. Cromgat is slain by the wolves. Your usefulness grows meager here. It is past time for you to find the vermin. Forces gathered at the Cregan gates. The finest troopers of Cadia plus multiple allied guard regiments under the strategic eye of what was certainly the greatest Lord Castellan in 2 millennia. Formations of tanks and armored vehicles, squadrons of aircraft, 2 commanderies of the Adeptus Sororitas, a baronial household of House Raven fighting a rearguard action, an unheard-of alliance of the Space Wolves and Dark Angels alongside scratch companies of Astartes from 24 chapters. And as if that were not enough, a full war cohort of Skitari. Perhaps the most interesting and varied assemblage of Imperial forces that had ever defended a single city, hardening their strong points for what was sure to be one of the most momentous fights in the history of the Cadian Gate. And already the forces of the Black Legion were hammering the breastworks and aegis lines thrown up before the 30-story-high bastion that guarded the way into Cadia. Hunting packs of mauler fiends, raptor harassing assaults, insectile war engines so bristling with limbs and weapon mounts they defied any categorization. One would think that such a bounty would cheer Trazyn, but he stared out of the oubliette with frustration. His towering stature meant that he saw directly over the helmets of the Cadian 33rd's second trench line.
I am like Warden Zadir at the feasting table, Sanet. It is agonizing.
That comparison is a bit dramatic.
It is dramatic because it is from the dramas,
Trazyn snapped. Though even in his defensiveness, he knew Sanet had a point. The Royal Warden Zadir, as the old place told it, had tried to betray the Mefrit during the Flesh Times. In punishment, they had sewn his mouth shut and forced him to attend lavish feasts as he starved.
Hyperbole or not, I hate sitting here looking at so many possible acquisitions, and these fools are going to throw them away.
Trazyn's vocal actuators emitted a series of chiding clicks as he shook his head. Down the line, a Helldrake flock had dived down to immolate 2 squads of the Cadian 9th. It had been like that for 2 days, dive and burn, hammer and retreat. The hounds of Abaddon slamming the aegis lines like a storm tide, softening them up with each wave.
If you step out of our shooting height, you will be seen, said the Huntmaster. The game will detect your scent.
The old Deathmark sat cross-legged on the floor of the hyperspace oubliette, his synaptic disintegrator broken down and floating in a layout as he inspected each part.
Allow me the luxury to lament, Game Warden. To watch history when one could participate is no easy thing. Should we decide to bag a specimen, though?
The Huntmaster took the focusing tube of his disintegrator and mimed blowing through it, despite having no breath.
I can oblige you. Surely you are not thinking of taking an active hand, Lord Archaeovist. You have already tipped the scale once, and to risk doing so twice could never be worth the possible cons— No, Trazyn answered with an affected weariness. I suppose not. Wisest to let nature take its course, the Huntmaster agreed. Yes, I'll only interfere if the human position gets very desperate, or if it will amuse me. It was good, Trazyn thought, to set parameters. How long can Cadian forces hold the gate? Asked Orvan Highfell. Creed pursed his lips around the cigar, considering his answer. Cal found himself shuffling his feet in discomfort. Creed was making the Wolf Lord of the Iron Wolves' great company, not to mention the other worthies, wait, and it was all Kel could do not to nudge him. Usually the tallest man in any room, Kel was still unused to the sheer size of the Space Marines as they clustered around the hollow projection table. Creed never appeared intimidated in the presence of the revered Adeptus Astartes, but Kel, even after a career as glorious as any in the Guard, could not help but feel a little like a boy of 7, dressed in a cadet uniform and sitting at the adults' table during the Rest Soul Day feast. Highfell, it was said, had seen the legendary days of Horus's betrayal, and now he stood in their command bunker, looking out on Kraft's northern muster field. They'd pulled the command section back from the top of the Cregan gates the day before, when it was clear the position was too exposed to enemy artillery and airstrikes. That hadn't been planned in advance. A basilisk-sized round had dropped directly on top of the wall, so close that it had killed an entire section of logistics staff and spattered stone debris across the heat-flash bubble of Creed's refractor field. Creed hadn't even been wearing it at the time. He hated the weight of the humming, buzzing thing around his neck, said it gave him a headache, and the dumb bastard would have been killed if he'd walked 10 feet to his left. But, Emperor be praised, he had been leaning right over it, scrutinizing the holotable. They'd managed to evacuate Creed before the enemy battery zeroed their follow-up shot. Holotable, staff, and Creed's personal Kazakin detail withdrew to a fortified passage in 30 seconds, closing the stairwell blast door just ahead of a direct hit. Afterward, Kel had given him a rare dressing down in private, at least as much as he could given the difference in rank, and the triangular field projector was hanging once again atop Creed's breastplate. How long can we hold? Creed mused, pulling the cigar from his lips and blowing a stream of smoke that wavered the hollow. Hold for what, exactly? That's the question. A little obtuse, said Lieutenant Ashar. The Raven Guard's armor was covered in purity seals, only partially patched and reconsecrated from the vicious fighting at the Joris redoubt. Half his languid face lay flat, a cheekbone broken. We have a plan, I assume. We do, said Creed. Though some forces in system are trying to disengage and join us here, our problem is we don't know when reinforcements from the rest of the Imperium will arrive, if they're coming at all. Who knows if our distress signal was heard? But we have one other option. He withdrew a data key and slotted it into the holotable's input port. When he turned it, a number of new markers flickered into being on the projection. Each listed a facility name and list of units. What you're seeing is the most closely guarded secret on Cadia. Something not even High Command has been aware of, though it has not gone unnoticed. Logistar General Rake bent close and read the unit designations with an acid tone. 11th Kazakin Air Assault, 282nd Shock Infantry, 91st Heavy Ordnance Battery. Why, Asaka, it's the lost reserve units. They weren't lost, Konskovan. I knew they were there. These facilities are what's known as salvation outposts, deep cover bunkers constructed thousands of years ago to allow a planetary commander to keep a reserve army in their back pocket, one that could emerge when the time was right. If you've heard the old Cadian myth of the army under the mountain, ready to roll out when Cadia needs it most, well, that's a folklore distortion of this reality. and it's time for them to heed the war drums and pounce on the traitors as their backs are turned.
Heifeld smiled, bearing a grin that was more lupine than Kell remembered.
Exactly. That's our play. We will allow the archenemy to draw up siege forces outside the Kriegen gates, then smash them from the rear with the nearest salvation units, fresh from their hold safes in the Rosvar. They are the hammer of the Emperor, we are the anvil.
To besiege the besiegers, said Master Corahel. He alone of the Space Marines still wore his helm.
When can they be activated? That's the tricky part. Timing. To trap the archenemy forces, we cannot reveal the reserve too early. Our foes must be fully committed and dug in, unable to suddenly maneuver out of the trap. I estimate if we activated them now, it would take at least 24 to 36 hours for the closest 3 regiments to receive orders, deploy from their positions, and fight their way to our aid. But we must not show our hand too early. The enemy does not yet have real siege elements in place. No heavy artillery, heavy armor, or troops massing in the numbers needed. Once they commit, we can activate.
I would not think of this as a traditional siege, Canoness Eleanor said. They are led by the ascended demon they call Ercanthos, with nearly limitless troops at his disposal. And the despoiler is restless for victory.
Creed nodded. Do you wish to brief them, Inquisitor de Verna?
The inquisitorial legate, her scalp marked by a sutured cut that looked quite fetching, Kell thought, nodded. Our intelligence profiles suggest he is the despoiler's closest and most devoted warlord, a member of his inner circle. No doubt he has been tasked with storming Craft and destroying the null array. We assume this is some type of reward or boon granted to him, a sought-after honor for his loyalty. You may find, Corahel cautioned through his helm grill, that loyalty in the Black Legion does not mean what you suppose.
That's what we're hoping,
Creed said, pointing at Corahel before retracting the finger, concerned he might cause offense in the gesture.
Currently, this siege appears exclusive to Ercanthos and his warband. If we destroy him, will the others fall to bickering over who gets the glory of taking us down? Thanks to Lord Highfell, Cromgatz is already slain. The archenemy might have limitless troops, Canoness Eleanor, but his command echelon is getting emptier by the day.
According to debriefs with our allies in the Adeptus Astartes, de Verna nodded towards the demigods, the Black Legion is no Cadian battalion with a clear chain of command. It's a group of rival war bands that have coalesced around charismatic leaders. Personal loyalty is everything. Frontline troops revere the despoiler, but their bonds of fealty tie them to direct commanders, who have in turn pledged to the master of the Black Legion. Break down his command structure, and the despoiler will lose command and control. Great waves of troops are only an advantage if you can direct them. Eleanor nodded. Let us discuss this delaying action, then.
Yes, let's, Creed said. Officer, adjust the focus of the table. I think the last hit on the sky shield misaligned it.
When the tech dialed in the image, Creed held out his hand for the long table stylus.
A classic defense in depth operation, he said. 15 companies of the Cadian 33rd Infantry are here, manning the Aegis lines before the Kriegen gates. I've also supported them with the 9th, largely heavy weapons companies.
Creed reached with the arm-length stylus and pointed to a fan spread of troop blocks marked 33 with the letters A through I, messily superimposed over the maze of trenches. The images clipped through each other.
We've dug in a group of Lehman Russ patterns from the 292nd Armoured as static firing positions, hull down behind the earthworks, but able to reverse out in case of a pullback. That will get messy, though. Hard to maneuver groups of tanks in reverse through a choke point.
Welcome everyone, Farmer Cop here. This is going to be my top 10 mods for beginners. If you're new to Farming Simulator 25, maybe you just got it. I know it just came out for free on Xbox Game Pass. And if you're wondering maybe what mods you should use or what you should have or what mods are, this video will hopefully help you out. This is not a guide on how to install mods. I do have a separate video out on that. I'll put a card up on your screen right now if you're looking for a guide on how to install mods. But what mods are free downloadable content. Some mods are for PC players only, but there are the majority of mods, I'd say probably about 70% of mods, are available for all platforms. That means if you're on Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, you can download them. And you can download them from the in-game mod hub. You have to do that, obviously, if you're on PlayStation or Xbox. If you're on PC, there's other ways to download them. But anyhow, if you're browsing the mods on there, because there are thousands of mods available for Farming Simulator 25, and more mods come out almost every day. So if you're wondering, well, what mods should I use and things like that, well, you can take a look at the ones on there. And they're also all tested by Giant Software. That doesn't mean they're necessarily perfect or won't have negative interactions with other mods that you have installed, but in general, they're not going to have, obviously, any major problems with them. But anyhow, yeah, these are kind of my All right, everyone, it is official. The Sky Agriculture Pack is officially out for all platforms. So you can still get it. Obviously, just the discount period's over. So if you were going to buy it, you should have probably done it by now, but that's okay. You can still get it now. There are links down below in the description to help you out with that. What I will say, if you want to see this in-game and see how it works, I have a separate video out on that. Because honestly, is it worth it? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. So, and also too, if you have the Year 2 Season Pass, which you also can order down below, that does include this pack, the Vredo pack, which is already released, and will include the upcoming premium expansion for the Year 2, which we don't know what that's going to look like. We just know, I guess we don't even know if it's going to be called premium or not. We just know it's the Year 2 expansion. Usually they do like platinum and then premium is what they normally do in the past. So they did for FS22. So I just assume it'll be that way. What I'm going to play right now is the release trailer, which I will be honest, seems like it's more of a trailer to show off the birds in the game, or a bird in the game. So just I'll preface it with that. I'm going to change the music out that is playing on there just for copyright reasons. So it won't be the music that theoretically it's supposed to have, but you can check out the video with that music if you really care that much about it on Giant Software's main Farming Simulator YouTube page. But yeah, I'll let that play. It's a minute and 30 seconds. If you don't care to watch it, skip forward by about a minute 30 seconds and you'll be past it. And then we're going to go into the vlog post, and then we're going to take a look at a couple screenshots and call it a video. So yeah, and talk about, of course, whether you should get the pack or not, because I have some opinions. Okay, we're back. I switched sides, so it may not look like it looks like I'm looking away from the images, but I am looking at them, I promise you. I switched sides just so you can see the text a little bit easier. The Sky Agriculture Pack is now available. Sky Agriculture joins the series with a versatile selection of modern agricultural tools. With the Sky Agriculture Pack available now for Farming Simulator 25, you get 12 implements for seeding, fertilization, soil cultivation on your farm, which the pack is what, $10? If I remember correctly, it was $9 if you pre-ordered it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And honestly, what would I pay for this? I would happily pay, I think, $5. Happily. Some people might be less than that. 10 is a lot for one new brand, and then 12 new machines. And then also, yes, to be fair, they do say this. You do get, but this pack is not only about adding more machines. Improved animations, realistic dirt accumulation make the equipment from the Sky Pack. There's the key words. The equipment from the Sky Pack. The equipment from Sky Agriculture. That equipment only. That's it. None other equipment. Feel more authentic when you operate in the field. Check out the launch trailer, which we already did, or you skipped. Either way. But yeah, 12 versatile tools. It says prepare soil, fertilize with Sky Agriculture. You can prepare the soil with... Talks about the power heralds or use the Memphis seed bed for... I mean, you guys know what seeders, cultivators, cover crop seeding is and all that, probably. Cover crop is oilseed radish seeding. But yeah, you can do that, or grass, I guess, as well. Then it talks about for sowing, and then here's a list of the machines. I'm going to take a look at all these screenshots with you in a second. I'm just trying not to waste your time, if I'm honest. Here's some of the stuff that's a little bit more important, I think, personally. More realistic animations. It says, new animations bring extra authenticity. Only to the Sky equipment. Only the Sky equipment. We're going to get to my stronger opinions here in a second. The machines in the Sky Agriculture Pack come with enhanced physics and improved animations. Wheels react more visibly to gravity, arms appear heavier while unfolding, and ground tools collect dirt that shakes off again while folding. These details make the equipment look more realistic, but they also change how it feels in operation. From unfolding implements to working the soil, the machines gain a stronger sense of weight and presence on your farm. Okay, what else we got? Available now. There you go. All right, so I'm gonna move to the first screenshot, and then I'm gonna give my opinions. So I'm leaning back. What I will say about this pack, it's not worth $10. However, there's some positive and negative. I also want to say this and preface this with, I am not paid by Giants to sell you this. Yes, if you use the link down below, I get a small percentage, but that only works for PC players. And if you're on Steam, you can use that link, but like most of all disorder, I don't get a lot from it, is all I'm trying to say. And yes, Giants did send me the Sky Agriculture Pack for free early. That's what I've gotten out of the deal. And that's just so I do videos on it, which actually they didn't even ask me to do that. I just am going to do videos. I do this for every DLC. If you look back through history, I always do an early access look at it. Sometimes I do other videos as well, but it's always usually at least an early access look and then a release day video, which is what I'm doing right now. So that's just what I do. I'm always honest. Sometimes I am over the moon excited for packs. I actually think the expansion at the end of this year is going to be super cool. So I think those of you with the year 2 season pass don't need to be upset. The Vrado pack I think was a little bit better than this one, but between the Vrado pack and this one, kind of a letdown for the year 2 season pass. But I think the year 2 expansion is going to be pretty legit. I think we should be excited about it. I'm just saying, I may have information, I can't share it. I think we should be excited about it. I'm excited for it. So I say all that to say, yes, this is kind of lame. We just get 12 pieces of machine for $10. That's what, 80 cents a machine, if I'm doing my math correctly, or around that. And then you get added physics and dirt accumulation on these machines. That's, I don't care that much about the added physics, that I'm just going to now switch to all this equipment so I have it, because it doesn't work on the other stuff. However, the fact that they're trying it out on these equipment pieces means that it's likely going to be in the next game. So this is kind of, I think, their test run to get people to use it so they can find issues with it and hopefully get it better for the next game. So that's exciting. That's the exciting part of it. Whether you buy it to be part of that test, it's up to you. So that's just what I'm going to say. Okay, I don't get paid by Giants to tell you to buy it. I actually don't think you should buy it. The only reasons I think you should buy this is if you're really excited about specifically the equipment in the pack, or if you really want the Vrado pack, or you want the Vrado pack, maybe not really want, but you want the Vrado pack and you want the year 2 expansion. If you want those 2 packs, buy the Seasons Pass and it'll get this included with it. Buying this pack on its own, I don't think it's worth it unless you're just like, wow, I really love Sky Agriculture equipment and I'm going to buy it for that reason. That's it. Okay, so sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but that's my honest opinions, and I think you guys should know that and kind of know where I'm sitting with it. Even before this, if you don't believe me and you say I'm just a shill for Giants or whatever, I was telling people to not buy it until they got to look at the early access videos of it from me and other content creators. I did say that before. So anyhow, okay, this guy, the Falcon, I will say this is probably actually the best piece of equipment in the pack, only because it's a base game lime spreader now with a higher capacity, so it might be the best piece of equipment in the pack. It also does fertilizers, you can see here. Honestly, these screenshots aren't like new. We've seen all these before. I don't know why they just keep... I don't know, to me it just seems lazy for Giants to just keep sending us the same screenshots. We've seen this stuff before. We've seen this before. You know, like, I don't think any of these screenshots are new. I think it's just the ones from all the fact sheets. We've definitely seen this. This is... I don't think that tractor has enough horsepower for this, to be honest. That tractor just seems too small for how big this is. This is literally twice the size of the tractor if you fold it up. There's an example. Yeah, like, look how big that is. Yeah, the dirt accumulation looks cool. I get it. I think it is cool. I like it on the equipment, and I like when the dirt falls off when you fold it, but it's not anything crazy exciting. This planter's not bad. I mean, the seeders, the planters, they work. They're not terrible or anything like that. It's not bad stuff. But yeah, it's available now. That's what I got for you. I don't have any more to add. You can make your own decision, but those are my opinions. Anyhow, that's what I got. Sorry, I didn't mean to be... It's a little bit of a bummer in the video. I apologize. I just want to be honest with you guys. That's all I want to do. So anyhow, if you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up on the screen to join the Farmer Cop channel, and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos I may post. This has been Farmer Cop. Thank you guys for coming and watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.